Vince is a mad taskmaster. He's actually holding us captive and forcing us to read all of it.
That's the only way that yeah, it was like me with Spawn. That's the only way it happens.
I still have to say Spawn Year is much more of an endurance test. And I still don't know how you completed all of it.
Me neither. I'm pretty sure I'm an insane person now. Like I don't think I'm Kane crazy, but I think I'm a crazy person now. So just keep that in mind as we go. Thanks for having me here, but I might be insane.
Well, thanks for coming once again, and we're really happy.
I'm excited about it. Yeah, when you gave me a few possible episodes to be on, and when I elected to jump onto this one, I didn't even realize that this was, spoiler alert, everybody, that this was the place where Ben Reilly is said at the end to be the real Peter Parker. And of course, I knew that happened in this, but I didn't realize that this was the place where that happens. And of course, that's all ostensible. Nobody get excited, but yeah. So I'm excited to be on this one.
Yep. Yeah, this is a pretty major turning point in the grand scheme of things. So getting into the actual stuff,
yeah.
In this episode, we are talking about the 4-issue crossover Trial of Peter Parker. So it's just 4 issues, so thankfully we are spared from Spider-Man Unlimited this episode, which we have and the publication date on all these issues is July 1995. And so Captain Logan just showed us the first cover for Web of Spider-Man 126, which is a cool JR cover. I think this is my favorite cover of this arc.
Same with me. I really liked this cover.
But the credits inside the covers, we have Todd DeZago, and then I had to look into this. We have Roy Burdine on pencils.
I've never heard of that guy.
Yeah, I hadn't either. So I did some Googling. This is one of 3 Spider-Man issues he did all around this time. He also drew Gravestone, which is a weird Malibu character, but before they got into the Ultraverse where everything was totally connected.
Oh.
He was also the artist for most of the Night Watch series.
Yeah, okay.
Night Watch plays a somewhat prominent role in Maximum Carnage. Sort of. He was an obscure Spider-Man spin-off character from the 90s.
There's been hilarious talk of him getting a movie. He looks just like Spawn. I hope that happens.
Yeah. And then apparently Charles Soule completely retconned Night Watch in his She-Hulk run, which I kind of forgot about. But I believe this writer, I think he went off to do storyboarding or something, which is something that comic artists often do because it's more stable income unless you're a superstar. And the last thing on his Deviant arc currently is a Spider-Man doodle from 2013.
Huh.
So he may actually be MIA. I'm not sure.
That's really interesting. I was wondering who that was. And then, of course, you've got to have Bagley on the Amazing issue on the second part because he's drawing Carnage. So it's like, oh, we got a symbiote there. So we better make sure that Bagley gets that issue.
So Pete is still looking for Kane, trying to clear his own name and get Ben out of prison. And I thought this first part was kind of funny because he's like, where do I find Kane? And then immediately Kane just like jumps out and tries to punch him in the face.
I enjoyed this fight.
Yeah, they fight in like a dance studio, and there's a bunch of like little ballerina girls who are fleeing. And again, I don't know this artist guy, but like many comic artists, he doesn't draw children very well, in my opinion. They just look like down adults.
Elects to not really draw backgrounds because a lot of this fight is just giant yellow background.
Yeah, and specifically yellow. You get that a lot with Spider-Man in this period for whatever reason. We think he looks great on yellow, and we don't need anything in the background. And that's a thing that I've made fun of Bagley for profusely. And I love Bagley's art, but he does that with backgrounds a lot. And it looks like this guy's taking his cues from Bagley.
Yeah, I thought this issue specifically, there's lots of absent backgrounds, and like the panels are often like smaller than they can be. Like you'll have a page where it's just like it's a solid cover color background, and then the panels are small, and like there's so much space that could be used. So I was really mixed on the art in this issue, honestly.
Like this page with the floating defense attorney's head.
Yeah, that
like,
was
why is it all blue? And we are really cutting corners here, you guys.
Yeah, and even the rest of the panels specifically on that page, like they could be like a third larger, all of them, just to fill more of the page and get more art.
I will say though, for sound effects, my last name appears as a sound effect in this issue again. So that's the first time that's happened.
Yeah, I just found that. There it is. There's Spag.
Yep. So keeping a running counter. That's the first time we've had that in a while.
Oh, but that's happened before. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it happened in like some of the very, very first episodes that we did. But I think just kind of this is off on a tangent, but like I think the first time I actually saw it was in the Dan Jurgens's and Lee Weeks's the Superman and Lois and Clark series. That's the first time I saw it, and now every once in a while it'll pop up somewhere.
When somebody gets hit really hard in the face at some point in one of these you guys and it says Logan, you just let me know.
Yep. So meanwhile, Ben's trial is going along, and we get these overly dramatic opening statements by the prosecution and the defense.
And really lengthy and completely pointless, and this could have been 2 issues.
Yeah. And there are other people looking for Kane, including Detective Raven and Stunner.
Stunner! I was not familiar with her.
Yeah, Stunner, and also it's kind of a subplot in this arc where we're beginning to see Stunner, like hints at Stunner's origins or powers, because she starts disappearing randomly.
Oh, does she have teleporting powers or something?
Actually, to my knowledge, I might be off on some of the finer details of this, but to my knowledge, she's a totally normal, like, woman. In fact, she may even be somewhat feeble, but it's something like virtual reality related, where she gets in a machine and then she has this buff avatar that she controls.
Oh God,
that's great.
I don't know if I don't know if there's like a time limit on it or like a charge that runs out, but so she just, I guess, dissipates sometimes.
If that's true, I bet when you get to it, they play it as a big giant reveal where it's like, that's why she was so exaggerated. It's like, no, this is what women in Marvel looked like right then. That's not an exaggeration.
Yeah, they get to have their cake and eat it too, because they get an excuse.
Well, the best part about, because at the end of this issue, our good friend Judas Traveler shows up and whisks Peter and Kane away to some other dimension, which I guess we find out they take him to Ravencroft. But the very next issue, Stunner's like, people just can't disappear, and then she just immediately disappears.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that. So you guys just mean that she's suddenly just not around when she, or is there a mystery plate that I'm missing?
Yeah, there's
no, she really disappears. Like she like fades away and disappears, just like Judas Traveler did with.
Wow, I missed that. Okay, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it happens like 2 moments. It's kind of right after Traveler teleports them, and then it's later when she's fighting Kane, and then like the building falls on her, and Pete tries to save her. So that's teasing towards something.
In the previous,
sorry, go ahead.
In the previous stuff we read with her in it, she would kind of go off and just disappear for a little bit, and I guess this is them trying to explain that. But like, I'm pretty sure in the past they explained it as she felt this weird urge to just destroy things. So I don't know why they're just randomly retconning that.
Oh, you're right. She does just randomly disappear, but seems to do it on purpose. Okay.
Yep.
That's pretty
but yeah, so basically there's a fight, and then Traveler, our favorite Spider-Man villain, shows up.
I hate him so much.
And the tease at the end of this first issue for the next one, like, this couldn't get tastier and more ridiculous, because it teases Spider-Man being put on trial, and Judas Traveler is the judge. We have Kane as the defense attorney, and Carnage is going to be the prosecutor.
Which is hilarious, and I love it.
I just wish it lasted longer, honestly. Like, that issue is what you probably thought you were getting into when this arc starts, because that's what we usually do with a trial of a superhero, right? Where you have the villains as the jury and one of them as the prosecutor, and you get that for one issue, and it's kind of fun, but it kind of it makes the other three not as much fun, especially because the actual trial is really dull.
Yeah. I think the legalities of superheroes, especially in the Marvel Universe, is always entertaining. Like every time Spider-Man's brought to trial and gets in an argument with Jameson, and I know Charles Soule, as a lawyer himself, has been focusing a lot on the legal ramifications of superheroes in his Daredevil run recently.
Well, didn't Kingpin just outlaw all superheroes in New York? That was the big thing.
Yeah, I think something like that.
Oh, I'm like 6 months behind on Daredevil. Spoilers, dude. I didn't know that.
Sorry. I mean, I'm not reading the book. I was just like loosely paying attention to it. I'm going to read it all when it's done.
No, that stuff has been great. All the idea that a superhero should be able to keep his mask on when he's under oath and stuff. He makes a really good case for it. And I gotta say, I want to have historical perspective, but that stuff makes this a lot harder to look at because the legal jargon is so juvenile.
Yeah. So moving into the second part, we're in Amazing Spider-Man 403. As Captain Logan mentioned, we have the usual team of Mark Bagley and A. Mateus writing it. And this cover is pretty great too, because we've got Pete in his costume chained up with Carnage looming over him.
And Shriek. I mean, just as an Maximum Carnage fan, and I know that book is ridiculous, but I still love it. I don't care what anybody says. It harkens back to that stuff. And no, this is my favorite cover of these. I love how he draws Carnage.
I think really the only contender would be, I don't know if you're familiar with some of the stuff Clayton Crane did.
Oh, yeah.
That's another cool take on Carnage. But it's hard to beat the creator. And speaking of Carnage, off the bat, we have this comedy that Billy was probably enjoying, where Carnage yells objection, and then Traveler curbs him for being improper in the court.
Yeah, this entire just situation is hilarious to me, because you have Carnage as a prosecutor, which is just completely ridiculous, because it's weird because he actually addresses Traveler as a legitimate judge, and it seems kind of out of character for Cletus Cassidy to be like actually respectful to somebody, but it's out of character in literally the best way imaginable. And then you get Carnage calling himself as a witness, which is also hilarious, watching him jump back and forth between behind the podium thing and in front of it.
It reminded me a lot of when Q plays a prosecutor in the Voyager episode Death Wish. He does exactly the same thing, except he calls himself as like Carnage does, but he makes two of himself, and then he talks to himself. But yeah, it was like that. And that's part of why I wish it lasted longer.
Yeah.
I was just having like Always Sunny flashbacks to how ridiculous this is, like whenever they do anything with a courtroom. So that was my connection to it. It's so zany and crazy having Carnage be the prosecution.
So, I kept trying to figure out why Carnage felt the need to actually listen to Traveler. Like, was he worried about what would happen to him, or like it's the most sober Carnage has ever been.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of out of character, but also, as we've seen, Judas Traveler is just super ambiguously overpowered and can seemingly do absolutely anything.
Yeah, we see a new power this time. He gets to turn really big.
No, he's done that before.
Well, yeah, like not as big as he does here.
The way that's drawn, I couldn't tell if he made if he got big or he made the other guy small. I could not tell.
But yeah, for reference, a few arcs ago, Judas Traveler was able to snap his fingers and explode a New York City street. And he's been able to teleport. At one point, he messed with the space-time continuum. His powers don't make any sense.
Well, he strikes me a lot like the Beyonder. and I wondered if he maybe was that kind of a cosmic entity. But just from the 4 issues we have here, and I haven't read everything you guys have up to this, I wasn't sure if like maybe we knew something about his being cosmically aware or being another being or something, or if it's a complete mystery. But I'm not trusting this material to ever explain it to us.
Yeah, there has been no explanation to date, and
That's great.
I don't think we will get any as we move along.
So you said his getting big or making people small, whichever is going on in that scene. You can't tell me. I don't think it's possible. You said that's a new power. Maybe is his being able to wipe Carnage's memory? Is that new?
No, he's done that before.
He's done that
still
before.
Completely ridiculous.
That is the Superman 2 kiss right there.
I've said it before, but I just feel like Judas Traveler would just work much better as a Doctor Strange villain.
Oh, sure.
Whereas anyone but Spider-Man.
Yeah, anyone but Spider-Man.
I feel like he would work better if he just didn't exist. But
I mean, that would also be
we'll
true.
go with yours.